Hey guys, this is Russ, and this is She Wolf Alchemy. And we're doing another quick check in, and we're talking about how do you let someone in after heartbreak? Now, the crazy thing about heartbreak is that it will have you acting like TSA at the Atlanta airport, right? It will come up to you like, yeah, nah, sir. Before you come in here, I need you to take off your shoes. I need your jacket. I need put that emotional baggage up on the conveyor belt. Your fear of abandonment, place all them items in the bin. Meanwhile, you standing there with your arms up, nervous, like, oh baby, I don't even think I'm clear to fly anymore. And that's how you feel when you're like, okay, I want to jump back into this thing. I want to do it for real. But you still got that lingering heartbreak somewhere in the background. So we're going to talk about how to open up that heart without being naive, without rushing, and without treating every new person like the last one's ghost. So the first tip I would give is one, remember that a lot of times our heart is moving in ways in which it's just trying to protect us. After heartbreak, our nervous system, not just our mind, sometimes wants to refuse new people from coming in. Our bodies can still believe that love equals threat, attachment equals danger, intimacy equals exposure. And it's not just like, oh, I'm guarded because I'm bitter. Literally, sometimes our biology is still doing fire drills from trauma it hasn't been told is over. We got to learn how to reframe. Instead of asking yourself, why am I so scared? Maybe ask yourself, what part of me still thinks that love is unsafe? See, reframing the question this way removes you from shame into understanding. One of the things we've talked about before is that a lot of times with heartbreak, we go through a grief. And a lot of us don't like looking at heartbreak as grief. It feels like, no, that's too serious. A person didn't die. Yeah, but a relationship did. And you don't just grieve the person, you grieve the version of you that trusted them. You grieve the version of you that they brought out. You grieve the future that you thought you were about to have with this person. It can kind of be a sort of identity grief. And if you try to ignore it and you try not to name it, you'll think, I'm not ready for love, when really you're just not done letting go of that old version of you. Sometimes after heartbreak, the real healing isn't about love. It's about mourning the character that you played or they played. And it is okay to grieve that. So, okay, let's say that we did the grieving part. Why can't I still let somebody in? Well, sometimes we can't let someone in because you no longer trust your own judgment. Now, this one for the folks who won't admit it out loud, but this is a real thing. Sometimes it's not about I don't trust these people, it's I don't trust me. Because some of these heartbreaks can have you out here wondering, why didn't I see that? Why did I ignore so many signs? How could I let somebody play me like that? How could I let somebody get over on me like that? And there's a fear that you'll choose wrong again. Or there's a fear that if I allow myself to be that open again, that vulnerable again, to like somebody that much again, that's where I feel blindsided. That's where I no longer feel strong. That's where I feel weak. And I don't trust that I'll make the right decision again. I don't trust that I won't allow myself to get hurt again. And I'm not sure if I can stand that. And the problem with this is that it can end up leading to you becoming emotionally celibate, where, yeah, I'll show up, I'll be there, I'll do this thing with you. I might entertain a couple of folks, but you don't get to touch on my emotions. I'm here. I might even be here physically. You might be able to touch me physically, but you ain't touching these feelings. These feelings I'm saving. You ain't getting nowhere close to these emotions. But the problem with this is that eventually you are going to crave vulnerability. You're going to crave real intimacy. Fake intimacy can only be fulfilling for so long. I mean, Think about it. Have any of you guys been in a situation where I know me myself, I had actually been in a situation where I knew this person was not my person. We had a history and we were both very attracted to each other. However, like emotionally, we did not match. Mentally, we did not match. However, we were really, really familiar with each other and we had both went through a really hard time at the same time. And so we started hanging out a lot together and we started having fun. We were having fun doing mundane things together. Like me and him would be going grocery shopping together and it would be so fun. And it felt so nice just to have someone to do things with. But as they slowly tried to push towards like romantic and being like, oh, let's do this more for real. Let's do this beyond friendship. I really remember being in that time trying to convince myself to do it because I'm like, I have fun with them. I have fun with them folding clothes. I enjoy regular outings, but I knew my emotions weren't really in it. I knew that this was like, yeah, a nice little break, but I didn't feel any emotional connection. I didn't feel any emotional intimacy. I knew that once we tried that, that it always felt fake and forced to me. Like, yes, we make really good friends. However, when you try to get love involved, I don't think either one of us are really fulfilled. But I think we both really tried to push this thing because it was like, well, but we're attracted to each other. We already kind of have a history and we already do so much together now as friends. Like, why not? But you know what that thing ended up with? It ended up to a lot of anger and resentment because I kept reaching a point where, dang, I really, really want to be vulnerable with somebody, but I knew I could not be vulnerable with this man. And so then I would just start being annoyed because I'm like, you don't have the capacity to hold the emotional weight that comes with my vulnerability. And so I would just start pulling away randomly. And then I would convince myself again, like, it's okay. And then for a while, I tried to kept convincing myself, okay, like, it's okay. I can enter this thing emotionally celibate because like, we can be surface level and we can have so much fun surface level. But when you are a person that craves real intimacy, after a while, that fake thing always gonna show. You gonna notice the stitching is off. You gonna notice that the logo is a little bit crooked, and that's not what the mascot really looks like if you look closely. You're gonna notice that the feel of it is rougher than the real thing. It feels fake. It's not durable. It's not meant to last. And if anybody looks too closely at it, yeah, they're going to be able to tell this is not the real thing. And at some point, you're going to get called out, whether it's by others or yourself. You're going to recognize this is fake intimacy, and I'm not really getting anything out of it except for not being alone. And to be alone while you're by yourself, when you're wanting somebody, yeah, that can be a hard feeling. But feeling incredibly alone while right next to another person, it's a whole different type of feeling of emptiness. So let's talk about the shift. Instead of saying, I don't trust men or women or people, try, I'm rebuilding trust with myself first. And what does that look like? I really personally believe in microdosing little acts of trust to kind of build that resiliency back up in yourself. That can look like making small promises to yourself and keeping it. And it doesn't have to be big things. This can be, no, I'm going to finish this book by the end of this month, by the end of the week. And then finishing that book by the end of the week, proving to yourself that you can trust your words, that when you say you're going to do something for you, that you come through for you. This can also look like taking good care of yourself, saying, you know what? I do everything for everybody, but my back really hurts. I am going to get me that massage. Showing yourself that no, I recognize my aches and pains and I take care of it. I don't leave myself to just sit through pain and discomfort while I take care of everybody else. I give myself care. I pour back into myself. I recognize when I'm hurt and I do something about it. Learn to rebuild trust in yourself. So let's say we get that self trust back up. Now we want to go out here and we're dating. I think one of the first things that you can do to kind of help dating be easier for you is to learn to date without what we call future tripping. And this can be like after a heartbreak, your brain becomes like a psychic, right? We tell ourselves things like, this man said he busy today, which means he's cheating, which means he'll leave me alone, which means I'm going to die alone holding a rotisserie chicken with a cat. Our heartbreak can make us live in a predictive panic state. But here's the secret. You don't need to know if they are your forever. And I know for some of us with issues with struggle and control, we're like, what do you mean I don't need to know? Yes, I do need to know. I don't want to waste my time and they ain't my forever. But here's the thing, you have to give time to even get to know if a person is your forever. But while you're giving that time, you can't keep trying to predict the future off every little thing they do and then self-sabotaging. You can, instead of trying to predict the future, ask yourself about what you're feeling right now. Take people moment by moment instead of projecting them 3 years into your fantasy or your fear. And that's not to say ignore big things. No, assess the big things as they're happening. But trying to maneuver around possible future heartbreak by just assuming the worst out of everybody is not going to get you to your happily ever after. It's gonna have you repeating the same cycle over and over while building up this image in your head. See, this is why love doesn't work, it isn't good. Because now you done gave yourself all this evidence of work not being good. And the evidence isn't based on anything. It's based on you self-sabotaging to quote unquote protect yourself. And now your brain is incorporating that and the way that it interprets interactions with everybody else and everything else, and it's creating these self-defeating thoughts where your inner critic keeps saying that you see, this is why love isn't worth it. This is why love is for everyone else but you. And it's all based off of hypotheticals, assumptions, and things that did not even happen. You're trying to protect yourself from things that have not happened that you aren't even sure will happen. And y'all know I've said this before on multiple episodes. It is better to build in resiliency, knowing that you can bounce back from things, than it is to live a life just trying to avoid everything so you don't have to bounce back at all. You're right. There's certain bounce backs that maybe we didn't have to do. Maybe we could have made a better decision, but those are decisions based off of facts of things that are actually happen and not assumptions that lead to self sabotage. And that is a huge difference. And one of the ways that can make it feel a little bit safer is that you let people earn access to you. And you might be like, what do you mean by that? I mean that before heartbreak, some of us loved like Costco sampler booths, right? Just here's a taste of everything I got. Let me know if you want more. But then after heartbreak, we learn boundaries, right? With a little bit of a velvet rope type energy, you need a VIP bracelet to get in here. But the unexpected truth is just letting someone in doesn't mean that you had to swing the door wide on open and give them access to everything. Sometimes you can let people access certain rooms, and once they're in that room and they do good in that room, we can let them into the next one. But it can be slow, it can be intentional, and it should be with discernment. Now, one of the things I do want us to be wary of is that there's a thing that happens after you do a lot of healing and then you try to get out there and date again. And I think it's one that we don't talk about enough because sometimes after heartbreak, you do a lot of healing, right? And you grow so much that you don't really know how to date as a new version of you. It's like walking a new set of heels that you haven't broke in yet. You're walking around like, "Oh, wait, I can't run in these." Alright, cool. They can't run these. Ah, standing is also hard in these. These are not standing shoes. These are sit down shoes. Okay, I'm sitting down. They're still not comfortable. I might these might be picture only shoes. Cool. Now I know not to wear these anymore. These are picture only shoes. We sometimes become a new version of ourselves, and then we go out here and date and we realize like, huh, I am not reacting the old way I used to react. I am having to learn a new version of me, a new version of me that shows up when I'm dating. Who am I in love now? What do I require now? What does dating look like with this level of confidence, with this level of wisdom, with this level of boundaries? I remember I went through my Saturn return. Me and Gabby got an episode on a Saturn return that I still need to release. I haven't released it because it's like 3 hours. It's like 3 hours long. It's a lot of ranting. It's a lot of ranting. And so I have not gone back to that episode to edit it, but at some point I think I am. We might have to scrap that and redo it over. But anyways, after my Saturn return really made me sit my behind down. Like my Saturn return, my Saturn's in my first house. It did a whole change of who I am as a person. And it was a lot of painful growth. And I remember though afterwards, not really wanting to date at all, like just had no interest in dating. And then I came across somebody, I met them and I really, really liked them. And I'm like, okay, I'm healed. So I'm gonna do dating healthy. And it was such a experience in me recognizing, oh, you are very different. And I remember like when we like first began dating, me being like, look, I cut off quickly. I don't believe in forgiveness. I don't I don't have a lot of patience. When I end things, I end them. You can't circle the block. Like I was like coming up with all these rules. I was telling him like how old Russ was. And then I realized that as I was dating, and he's a great guy. He's a great guy. It did not work out for other reasons. We were in completely, there's a huge age gap and we are just very different stages in our lives. And there was just a lot of like real life things that did not match up with each other. Great human being. But I remember one time we got in an argument and he like made me kind of mad. And like I was used to before, like my whole side of return, like, this man would try to text me, he'd be blocked. I'll be, you can't access me. I'd be on my way doing something else. And I remember being like, hey, I don't have the emotional capacity to have this conversation right now because I'm feeling very triggered. And I recognize the things that I want to say will not be productive. And I recognize that like I care for you. And so I don't want to actually say these things out loud. How about we give each other the rest of the evening to just chill out and think about it? And then we'll talk about it in the morning. And I remember like hanging up and being like, girl, what the hell was that? Like, since when do we give breaks to like think about what we're gonna say? No, you hurt their feelings and go about your day. It was like a very interesting thing, and I was like, huh, okay. I believe in forgiveness now. I didn't, I didn't realize that was a thing that was gonna cross over in love. I knew that was crossing over in my family. I knew that was crossing over with friends. I was like, okay, this is new. Apparently, I communicate now. Interesting. It was just a lot of things. And I know y'all probably listening to this like, girl, what you mean you believe in communication? It's a lot. It's a lot, y'all. Y'all don't know about my childhood. But anyways, it was like a thing for me to recognize, like, oh, I'm a very different person in love now. I require different things. I require us to now have conversations. I didn't really used to believe in that. I used to be like, I have my feelings, you have your feelings. Are we good? Let's just move past it. We don't gotta have no big talk about it. It's fine. You don't need to know what I'm feeling. These are my feelings. Why would I share those? And I had to recognize, like, no, you like sharing feelings now. You want to talk about how y'all feel and making sure you guys are on the same track. There's going to be some like relearning who you are now. And it's okay to feel awkward as you're learning your new emotional size. And the next part of this is also, for those of us who have been hurt multiple times again, sometimes we start taking on our trauma as like our personality. But you got to remember that heartbreak is just a chapter. It's not supposed to be your entire autobiography. Your whole life story isn't about you being betrayed, abandoned, disappointed, or the person who gets misused. You don't have to be the girl or the guy who never lets anybody in. You don't have to become the villain because someone else mishandled your softness. Letting someone in again is not you being naive. It is you being alive. And I know it can be hard, especially if you had a heartbreak that like really changed who you were. I had a heartbreak when I was 29, and it's so crazy because um this wasn't like a situation where someone had did like the absolute worst to me, or it wasn't even like the worst thing I experienced in love. It wasn't like the cruelest a man has ever been to me type of situation. It wasn't that. I think the reason why this particular heartbreak hurt so much, one, I was going through my Saturn return. In hindsight, that's a big part of it. But 2, it was because it was the first time I had really, really tried to be vulnerable with somebody, and I really felt, like, disappointed with how they handled that, and I think that hurt me worse than some other situations that I think most people would think that would be bigger, but it hurt me most because I was being really honest. I was being really, really vulnerable for, like, the first time with somebody, and what it felt like is like having someone who just did not care, who took it for granted and the number on me emotionally. It really changed the way I looked at love. It really changed the way I looked at people in general, not just men, like people in general. It really shut me down emotionally. Like it really made me be emotionally celibate for a while, like years. To this day, every now and then, certain things will come up certain ways. So every now and then something will come up and remind me, and it still like catches me off guard. Like, damn, and I remember really, really wanting to be a villain, like really, really wanting to be a villain. And the thing that stopped me was like, I refused to let that person have that big of an effect on me that they changed my whole story. My whole story was not supposed to be this villain arc. And you won't get the credit for that. You don't get to make me have an emotional burial where you are the center of it. And I remember having to remind myself, like, at the end of the day, this nigga is really not that important. And I thought about how can I turn this into something that is gold? How can I alchemize this situation? And I truly believe that when you have something happens that you're like, nope, I'm gonna let this make me a villain. Nope, this is my life story. Betrayal, abandonment, disappointment. N- I need you to sit with that and really ask yourself, is this heartbreak and is this person really strong enough and that big of influence to change my whole life story into one that is centered around her, that is centered around how they mishandled my softness? Do I really want to give them that power? Now, let's say we get past that. We say, okay, I'm there. And I'm going to date again. I'm going to be healthy. I'm going to go out here and give my love to someone who's worthy and deserving, blah, blah, blah. One of the things I do want to just a little small unexpected tip for you is let's say you do all the other things. I also want you to add in practicing receiving. Because people think letting someone in means just talking about your past, right? This is my childhood. I've been hurt so many times. But it's not just that. And honestly, you can start smaller. Don't tell everybody all your stuff right away, y'all. Please, slowly. But for some of us, letting someone in is little things like letting someone compliment you without feeling a need to return a compliment to them, without feeling a need to reject it, letting someone do something kind for you without you rushing and go, oh, okay, well, how do I pay it back? Learn how to receive. Our hearts open in increments, and receiving is the warm up. And a hard truth is that loneliness and readiness can look identical sometimes, especially on the outside. They definitely feel different. Loneliness just wants relief. Whoever, whatever, I just don't want to be by myself. Please don't leave me alone here with my thoughts. Please, someone come occupy my mind. Please, someone come occupy my body. But readiness wants intention. One is just please distract me, while the other is I have space for you. And you got to learn how to tell the difference. So, the last gem that I have on this check in is just remember that love requires a little bit of hope. Not hope in a delusional way, not the I can fix him type delusion, I can save her type mentality. Nope, nope, nope. That's not hope. That is delusion. But I mean the kind of hope where you believe that something good can happen again, where you allow possibility that you're worthy of joy, even after the universe dropped your heart like a clumsy waiter. Let someone in slowly, wisely, and whole. But if they deserve it, let them in because your heart is tired of just surviving. It's craving a chance to live. Now, that's all I have for today's check in. And see, I told y'all. I was gonna do actual check-ins that were like 15 minutes long. I don't know how long this is. I need to have a timer. But I feel like this was like 15. I feel like I said that last episode and then realized it was like 37 minutes long. But I feel like this one is actually around 15. With that being said, guys, I am going on a break, so you will not have a new episode next week. But I encourage you to go back and listen to some past episodes, some of your favorite episodes. Share the podcast with people you enjoy. Leave us a review, or if you listen on Spotify, leave us a comment. We love getting those. Um, but as the holiday season is coming up, I am going on a little bit of a break. Y'all know 3/4 of She Wolf are moms now, so this is our busy time. Not only that, I got a Capricorn baby, so not only do I got Christmas, I got to prepare for my baby birthday. It's busy time for us. It's busy time. So we are going to have a little bit of a break, but you will have a new episode before the new year. I hope you guys enjoyed and you'll hear the sound of my voice before 2026. Thank you for listening and bye.